Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Corn Sunday as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen from an act named Wu Bai China Blue titled Back to Hometown. And we're going to listen through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. There we go, got it on the screen, let's go, let's do it. What do we got? It's wistful, isn't it? Very cool response from the guitars there. I like how percussive the language is. The actual language itself, the words, the way they come through, some of the consonants, the sounds, they're a bit more kind of oomph. They kind of sync quite nicely with the drums. It's just clever stuff, you know? Someone's absolutely belting that organ there. There's no real change in the perceived intensity of it, it's just that the guitar is another part of the ether, you know. Just the strain and tension from that vibrato. The scratchy tone to it. Very rustic. mean, as a non-English speaker, you can kind of get a little bit maybe from the video. But it's nice to have other leads to follow along to, just to kind of enjoy your stay no matter what. It's authoritative, isn't it? Interesting. We've kindly been provided lyrics by Corn Sunday to check through, so we're going to do that in a moment, and then we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. So we've got the lyrics here again, kindly provided by Corn Sunday for Wu Bai and China Blue, Back to Hometown. I'm going to return to my hometown, my family. My feet are weak when I think of my parents. Okay, let's ask the grandma on the side of the road, is this road the same as the one before? Society needs a lot of lives to be heroes. My feet are standing here with my blood. My tears are hidden in this earth. Back to hometown. Is it? Okay, I think I kind of get it. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Wu Bai and China Blue, titled Back to Hometown. What do I think this track is about? Quite honestly, it's a tricky one for me. I could take it at literal face value and go, this is clearly about someone who is talking about wanting to go back to their hometown. But then it's also like, are they preparing to have to contend with a challenge if they are doing so? Is the challenge for them returning home? Is it the fact that they have to come home at some point in order to face something insurmountable, that they can't have regrets or afterthoughts afterwards? Are they coming home realizing a lot's changed and maybe misunderstanding what they've left behind or misremembering it? I'm not quite sure. I mean, either way, I think maybe they know that their home is there and so they feel unstoppable when they have a place to anchor themselves. I'm not sure, man. It's an interesting track regardless. I think it's just a story where I feel like I need more time with it and maybe a bit more understanding of the native language or something like that, or the context of their hometown in order to get more from it. But I feel like a lot of people at the very least will be able to appreciate the power of having family, having the hometown, having the place they came from, and there's that connection to that. The vocals are great. I like the spoken sung parts. I like the sort of like the kind of crowd chanting on the band, singing along in those chorus sections. I appreciate the frankness of it, the color in those melodies, and the unity within those harmonies. I feel like it works almost like a mantra, a chant over top of the rest of the instrumentation, which consists of the guitars, organs, bass, and drums. And yeah, solid vocal technique, par for the course with Wu Bai and China Blue. I do typically appreciate the work they do on their instruments, and I just think it's a well-sung song. You know, it doesn't over-embellish it. There is expression to it, but it's not too much diversity to it. I don't think that it would have been necessarily appropriate for the subject matter. It didn't seem like a track that was a whole lot of roller coasters. The way the song was structured at 5:48 was rather interesting. We had verses and choruses and interlude and kind of breaky parts in between his transfers, and we had some solo sections which then eventually grew into this massive guitar solo section near the end, or very sort of classic rock. It was great to have that freedom on the guitar to be able to play like that, to be able to showcase their skills and to do so in a way that is meaningful. You had the glissando of the keys going up and down, embellishing the mid to upper range with those chords and sort of melodies there. You had the drums with a whole lot of interesting patterns and fills. They're working typically with the quarters, 8s, and 16s, very tight to the groove there. Mixture closed and open hi-hats, working the kicks and snares really well. And also some interesting, again, some fills there would kind of break stuff up, split it, you know, maybe like insect it. Transitions from snares to the toms as well. And we had a variety of different grooves there in a way that was meaningful. The bassist was typically sticking to the root notes. They might have explored a little bit, or it wasn't too obvious. And I think that was a smart move. You kind of need at least one person to pocket. And I think that the guitars, when they weren't sort of strummed or power chordal parts, the clean strummed or the distorted power chordal bits, I think that it was ultimately more sort of a lead-oriented soloing there, where we, in the later stages, sure, we got into the bluesy pentatonics and went around the higher range of the fretboard, but it was more, I think, about expressing yourselves and singing the song without the words in those those kind of transfer leady bits on the six strings. I think that was a smart move because it added a bluesy inference to the rocky song, which kind of told you that maybe this wasn't the kind of happy return they were wanting. The mood was getting heavy, etc. in the lyrics. And so I think that there's range and diversity to the different ways we approached the guitar leads. And I think that the solos were meaningful. We had changes in intensity later on. It got a bit more kind of wild there, and it sort of flowed and became a bit sort of misty sounding there and a bit fuzzy there, with a lack of distinction with certain notes like that. But I think it's little things like, again, the accents on some of the words within those verse parts to sort of sync with some of the drum bits, the way that the organs in a similar range flowed into the rhythm guitars and the leads there in those midsections, the way they kind of overtook each other near the end. And it makes you aware of the fact that there's just a phenomenal chemistry within this band. They clearly know what each person is meant to do, and they understand how to grow into something that's not just the sum of the individual components there. It becomes something bigger, and that is a journey that you go on with this piece. Again, I feel like you'd have more of an intimate experience understanding the lyrics natively, but I'm glad to have nonetheless been able to get a translation, so I thank you for that. The theme overall, I get the feeling it's minor oriented, so it does sound like it's a bit of a sad song to add a particularly minimalist angle to it. It's as if it's trying to communicate that there's a sense of loss having to come home to this place and the state it's in, wondering what's changed, but then you also feel that they're going to stand against that and still try and make their own way through this world and try and do the best they can. And I think that that's a really positive message there. I feel like the guitar, the sort of dirty, kind of gritty sound to it was more a pushback against that sadness we might have felt, again, in those minor oriented sections there. And I think the distorted guitar was meant to sort of add a bit more sort of oomph and kind of like pull to it or push to it. So I like the choices of the tones and textures within this piece. I think it was very thoughtful. It was a really tight instrumental performance without a note out of place. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering was great. It sounded commercial grade for the time I think it was released. I'd assume in late 90s, early 2000s potentially. And I've got no complaints about the way that it was recorded. Everything was nice and clear within the mix. You could tell they'd done the proper job of EQing and compressing and sort of affecting stuff. Like things, there weren't any weird resonances in the frequency spectrum. Music surrounded you in the stereo field there. You could hear like the organs, for example, going from left to right with the glissanders, that kind of stuff, which was really cool. There was dynamic range and it was nice and loud without pumping. Bus compression limiting was handled effectively. This is my review of this track from an act named Wu Bai China Blue, titled Back to Hometown, if I understand it correctly, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SC Patrons video, and have a fantastic Happy New Year. Spiderhands out.